This is a response to the Young Turks. First of all, to the Young Turks themselves, love your site, envious as hell. I'm just way too lazy to put something up in the background or put on a proper shirt. I think you guys have got one. Yes, certainly the right is responding, but actually, Julian Assange has the right is verbal, okay. But I get the real strong sense out there from the blogging, from the reading on that the center has been alienated by those kind of lack of knowledge information, but the way diplomatic protocol and levels of systems of diplomatic trust have been violated. This dump went at the very heart of diplomatic privacy and diplomatic trust systems that worked in the world. I think most people understood that this dump, while not really containing any real information, was potentially damaging, not necessarily to lives or informants or anything like that, but damaging to the level of trust that is necessary to make diplomatic systems exist. Even the thing is that Julian Assange is a radical openness where he believes probably that there's almost no entitlement to privacy except the privacy of WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks gets to be private. He gets privacy because he needs it to expose the information of anyone else he chooses. Now, to an extent, what he did was very good initially when it was Iraq or Afghanistan, but by exposing the statements the diplomats reported home. And this is probably the duty of diplomats. Go over there and tell me everything you see. Tell me everything you think. I know my own job. I am constantly telling my boss things that I think about clients and coworkers and stuff like that. They're not necessarily backstabbing, they're not salacious, but they are, I believe, in the best interest of my employer, objective. And in oftentimes, I certainly wouldn't want the objective opinion I had of someone that I gave to my boss reported in the internet or dumped in the internet. And if that started to happen, the quality of information that my boss would get from me would collapse. And when that does happen, when you see that starting to happen in organizations, you see a real collapse in the quality of organization. People understand that there's a there's a trade-off between openness and privacy, and they even understand that the government needs a degree of privacy, particularly to do diplomacy. They understand that diplomacy, in order to work, needs a degree of trust, confidential, and privacy that the democracies, when they're conducting their diplomacy, are not always engaging with other democracies. I mean, the WikiLeaks that are democracy on this aren't much of an issue. What's kind of threatening is the things that are democracies facing non-democracies, which suddenly the issue of openness becomes much more controversial. I mean, really, what was the outcome of all this information about Arab states asking the United States to attack Iran? Who benefits from that? What's the impact on that in the world? How does that impact U.S. diplomacy around the world? How does that impact, say, negotiations on North Korea? Anybody who's talking to a U.S. diplomat probably from now on is going to be less trusting, less forthright, and much more constrained. And that is really very, very unfortunate. It's a very negative consequence. I think most reason people, not only in the center, but people who are on the left of this issue tending towards open government are also a bit disturbed because there are very, 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 very few people who believe the radical Assangean ideal that privacy is just monopoly of information, everything should be open. And Assange doesn't seem to believe it about himself either. So he's sort of in it throwing this spat. He's sort of thrown the baby out with the bathwater, unfortunately. It's very sad, but it's going to be so easy for the next Congress in the United States to pass new laws controlling internet, particularly giving the United States the authority to spy and infiltrate foreign domains much easier, to put more control on foreign web hosters. This is really, really an ugly, sad, sad event. Nothing was gained. Nothing was advanced. And people who are still holding on somehow that Assange is a hero are absolutely delusional. And the best thing that we should all probably do right now is just condemn this monster, get this rapist in jail. I mean, if he's innocent, I almost don't care. Get rid of him. Somehow you don't want him killed, but stop getting this guy on TV. Break up the WikiLeaks organization, even though I would have loved to have seen the Bank of America information. It's time to stop this fiasco. And let's stop back and let's really start to think democratically, as a community, as a working, institutionalized, constitutional society, how we want to promote openness and stop having these circus clowns performing these idiotic stunts. And I think an Assange in jail, which is actually wonderful news now, the more I think about it, is the best, probably the best thing to do. Unfortunately, he has provided not just the right, but everybody in America, and we saw in Canada the same things happening. Leaders all over the world now have the bin Laden of the open internet. People who believe in open internet now are going to be a lot like religious Muslims who were in the past 10 years. It's going to be very hard for us to shake the connotation that we are somehow terrorists, that we are undermining society, and we're all going to have to watch ourselves. And very much likely, everything that we communicate, everything we say is going to be spied on, even more than it is being now. And we are going to find governments taking down websites much, much more easily. This is the law of unintended consequences here. Assange and the WikiLeaks people, with the WikiLeaks people, I mean, I hope more and more who's behind WikiLeaks. I hope somebody leaks, though, who's behind WikiLeaks. So I think that they don't really deserve privacy either. On this particular dumping things like what the American president thinks of the sex lives, I mean, what the American diplomats think of the sex lives of the Italian prime minister, dumping stuff about, the personality of the German president, the stuff about one of the princes, a comment that one of the princes made, dumping this kind of salacious tabloid journalism, this kind of Fox News, Murdoch kind of crap, with Assange being sort of the Murdoch of open internet, has really just been shit. And it's really been a sad couple of weeks for those of us who believe in an open, free internet. And we've had a clown come in and make a fiasco of what, for many of us, has been decades worth of work. And the fact that he's in prison right now, very, very hard to feel sorry for him.